What's up, guys? It's Ace Coleman here with the Champion Blueprint podcast, and today's guest is Parker Baker. Parker is from Winter, South Dakota, and he has had an extremely good indoor season as an amateur. That includes third place at the Rushmore Rumble, first place at Lancaster in Men's Open, and first place in the compound flights at Vegas. So, Parker, how's your day going?
It's been going pretty good, honestly. Weather's good to where, just nothing to complain about.
Yeah, I get to shoot some 3D outside, get ready for Foley in a couple weeks. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with like you being introduced to archery. So, how did that take place?
Um, okay. Originally, I used to do 4-H, and I was in 4-H forever, and I was actually super against shooting archery. I thought it was just stupid. And I did mainly like gun stuff, like air rifle, air pistol, 22 rifle, 22 pistol, stuff like that. And maybe when I was 14 or 15, I think, maybe, no, definitely 14 or 15, I actually finally decided to get my own bow and shoot. And I going into it, I was super square minded about archery. Like, I just didn't like it at all. I hated it, actually. I thought it was so below every other kind of sport. Uh, and I thought it was just dumb at that point of my life. But I got into it from Wade McClanahan, and that's how I really got into archery.
Yeah, so
So
Wade is a good friend of Parker's and mine. So that kind of leads us to our next question, which is who has been a good coach that's helped you in archery? And I'm sure Wade is definitely that guy. He is an archery coach. Tell us a little bit about how Wade has helped you with your shooting.
um everything. Up until I joined your podcast, your uh Champion Archery Academy, he was the only coach I've had up until that point. And he's taught everything up till there. He's taught me everything. Like everything I've ever needed to know. Without him, I wouldn't even be close to where I am today. He has got me through everything, and big shout out to that guy. I mean, I really wouldn't be anywhere near in life. I wouldn't without him. It's been
Right.
big part on him.
Yeah. So Wade is he's a good friend of mine as well, and he's actually in Champion Archer Academy, and we actually have coaching calls pretty regularly where we just bounce ideas off each other. But yeah, and he actually shoots in the pro class as well in NFAA, USA, and in the ASA in the known class. So, but yeah, as far as preparation for the Rushmore Rumble, what did that look like? And like early in the preseason, what were some challenges that you had that you had to quickly fix? I have some right off the top of my head that I'd like to discuss, but from your perspective, what are some challenges that you had early in the season before Rushmore that you had to fix?
Um, I'd say my main one would be my hold. I had a really hard time holding going into Rushmore Rumble. Well, right before that, I got Isaac Bedford's mods to increase my holding weight, and I think that was really one of the biggest things that changed that I did pre-season that really excelled me. I've never really messed with holding weight up until that point all that much, and doing that really excelled my shooting ability.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. So a lot of people like you're shooting a Matthews TRX 40.
yeah,
Yeah, so you have your mod 70%, 75%, and 80s, I assume. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so what did these mods do for you that the current mods couldn't do for you?
uh, mainly really increased the holding weight. Like I was shooting the 75s before, and then I switched to the 70 Vs and added the mods and really increased my holding weight by like a ton. It was I had maybe somewhere I didn't know the exact number, somewhere between 16 to 18 pounds of holding weight. And then my final number was I think around 24.2 or 3 pounds of holding weight. And that really I didn't know how well I would do with that big of a jump, but it was a huge part with helping me hold. Giant part. I couldn't believe it, but that's my own without changing any of the holding weight stuff, not worrying about it up until that point until I was in one of the calls at Champion Archer Academy that I was told, hey, try changing your holding weight. I'm like, I probably should do that.
Wow. Yeah,
Um,
so that is a huge thing. Like in all of our coaching calls, if someone has a low hold, 9 times out of 10, I'll tell them maybe your holding weight's too low or you have too much stabilizer weight, assuming that your draw length is set pretty well and you have decent form. So,
yeah,
yeah, 24 pounds of holding weight, that's a ton, but we'll go into some of the details as to why you like that. But Parker has like 18, it's like 18 up front and how much in the back?
36.
Yeah, 36 ounces. It's a very heavy bow, 24 pounds of holding weight, holds that like nothing probably. Probably aims super
Yeah,
well. Yeah. And before then,
yeah,
I'm guessing you had a lot of up and down misses.
yes. That's what I mainly used to miss was low, mainly
Low.
low.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was my uh that was my big problem. One other thing that I completely forgot that I changed was I switched to thumb button. Right before I used to be a big hinge guy, and then I got that Stan Onyx clicker, and the I had gotten that one and the Onyx hinge, and I didn't like the hinge all that much. So I switched that clicker, and I was like, well, maybe I'll try this out for a while. Well, turns out that works very well. And then increasing my holding weight with that button, that was the money.
yeah.
It
So
was
a lot of people like that watched the Lancaster finals. You said that you shot the clicker and they were trying to figure out the announcers. Greg White, I think, was one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
But they're trying to figure out if you were punching or not. And we'll go a little bit into that. So how do you shoot this Onyx clicker release?
um how I have it set up or how I actually shoot it.
Both.
Okay, both. I have it set up where I took out the tension spring out of it. Now, am I mistaken by saying if you take the tension spring out of a button, does it normally not cock?
Sometimes it depends on the model, like
Okay.
and where the travel is adjusted. It
Yeah.
depends on those two things.
Okay. Well, with that one, I can take it out. And then I had set the travel to where it was since it's the click in that button requires travel, and I have it set just past the click. I have it set just past. And with to punch it basically, and then I took the tension spring out, and then the thumb button just swings. It just swings out of the way. You don't have any reverse pressure against your. Uh, I think it works fantastically. But with that, I use it to punch. I have it set up to where I try to get perfectly when I set it up in my thumb. They all come with the safety pin. The safety pin sticks out of the thumb barrel. Well, that's what I set my thumb on. I set my thumb on that safety pin at the very bottom, and then really get leverage into it to punch it. Really, but that it's really the money. I love that. I love that release. Absolutely love it. It feels great.
Yeah. So to repeat what he's saying, so he punches it when the pin's ready. He lets it go, and I found it's stiff and there's no travel on the button. And then when you do punch it, it flaps out of the way. It just moves.
Yeah.
Pretty neat setup you got there. But yeah, I do believe we were on a coaching call and I tried that out once. And then I was like, Parker, hey, why don't you try this? And he's just stuck with it ever since. But
yep.
Anyway.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So one last thing I'd like to talk about that you did really early in preseason was working with your lens power. Originally, what lens power were you shooting?
Originally, I was shooting a 6 with, I don't know if the dot size is the same on it. I have to go look, but I had a dot that would cover the entire 9 ring. And my idea with that is coming from air rifle, I would try to, like air rifle, not necessarily air pistol, you line up your aperture and there's circles inside your front sight and your rear sight for like air rifle. And then you just try to perfectly align that on the outside of the bowl. Well, on the outside of the black rings on air rifle targets, technically. And I had that same mindset going into archery. Well, if I have it big enough, I'll just go on the outside. They're just small enough to be inside the yellow and when to know if I'm holding well, if there's a small ring of yellow outside of my dot. And originally I changed that to a smaller dot after listening to one of your podcasts with Tim and then us talking about it on the call about par shooting and what's the other phrase? Precise shooting? Yeah,
like precision and par.
Precision. Yeah, par shooting and precision shooting. Then I thought about it for a little bit and I was like, well, technically it's not really I'd get more precise if I had a higher power lens, right? So I thought to myself, well, let's try that out. So I got my 8 power lens out and tried that out and tried different dot sizes. I had the same setup on that 8 power as did my 6 power where it'd go around the 9. Then I was like, well, let me try around inside the 10. I was like, man, that really works. I really like that. It holds so much better inside the 10 ring when I can see the 10 ring. And then I had problems with going from to USA Archery targets with just a small 10. I was like, okay, let's go just smaller, right? So it'd fit. So it'd be almost, it's basically now, that's what it is now, the size of the 12 ring on a Lancaster target. It fits just inside of an X ring almost perfectly. And that's how I have it set up now. Because if I had it just the size bigger to the 10 ring, I couldn't see it as well. And seeing those rings really helps me make sure when to shoot. That's a big thing for me is seeing the rings. If I can't see those rings, I have a bad time on when to punch it. So That's the progression of, going from that was
Very cool.
That was the other big thing. Yeah.
So,
But
yeah, talking to Kyle when this is Kyle Douglas. He's one of the
mhm.
greatest command shooters out there. Him and Tim will tell you that the sight picture fires the shot. So it's like, with the smaller dot, it sounds like when you get it really precise and lined up, you'll probably be more consistent. But if the dot's a little bit too big on that, just that X on the USA archery face, it's like you're unsure of when to fire the shot. Maybe
Yeah,
that's right. And it's like you're like, oh well, punch it anyway, and then it won't be perfect. Maybe I'm not sure if that's how you feel
exactly.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's almost exactly how I feel about it. Yeah,
it's like, oh well, bam.
yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, as far as how Rushmore went, you got third place there. What score did you shoot?
Let me think. It was it's down to 900 points, right? I mean, I shot 1-9. The first day I shot 50 X's. I think I shot something a little low, 24, 25 X's, I think the second day. So like an 899 with 74. That sounds right. I think that's what I shot. An
Gotcha.
899 with 74 X's. Yeah, that's what I shot at Rumble.
Very
I'm
nice.
pretty sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, were you kind of nervous at that tournament?
Uh yeah, a little bit. The Going into it, I was more nervous about how my tournament nerves were gonna feel than how I was shooting the bow. Like I
Wow.
I was that was my big thing going into it. I was scared that because I up until then I didn't get it with all my changes, I didn't get a shoot in any kind of tournament pressure up until that tournament. And I was like, man, I hope this pans out. And you know, for how it went, I feel like I didn't do too badly, but it a lot better than what I expected. I always thought my tournament pressure was going to eat me alive. I thought that was my biggest worry about it all. Is
Yeah.
I have confidence in my shooting. It's just, is that pressure gonna kill me or not? But
Yeah.
it
So, as far as like command shooting, I know that you have command shot a hinge. Is that correct in the past?
yeah, mm, I wouldn't say, yeah, I was command shooting it like I was manually rolling it. I was not. And I usually had bad times where, I was shooting an HBC at that point with a fast click, and I'd I'd roll it super quickly, like probably too quickly than what I wanted. And a lot of people, like, if you ask Wade how I shot that hinge, I'd be rolling it, and then once it clicked, it just fired like a recurve, right?
Yeah.
It just go off every time. Where I know I could make it click, and it would stop, like it wasn't just going past the click, but it just I was just shooting it super quickly, like I should have been shooting a button for the longest time, but I wasn't. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So, did you shoot good that way, in your opinion?
I shot okay. I mean, I definitely shot good scores, and I definitely shot bad scores too. But on a scale of 1 to 100, I'd say on average maybe a 75%. On like shooting performance is how that really went.
Mm,
I knew it definitely wasn't the most precise thing in the world, and should have fixed it a lot sooner, but there'd be times where it shoot super well, but then there was times where it just wouldn't. And
Sure.
but
Yeah. Anyway, that's a pretty unique jump though. But as far as the tournament nerves, what exactly do you focus on to kind of help with that?
um before or during,
Both.
uh before, everything but shooting. I've like during Lancaster, I'd have a terrible time falling asleep. Terrible time. I already have a bad time falling asleep, but worrying about like in my head about what I'm gonna be doing the next day, that I have a bit of a struggle falling asleep, but I try while I'm not shooting, I try to focus on everything but shooting. Try to get my mind calm for everything else. So, shooting doesn't frighten me. But while I'm shooting is more, I wouldn't say I can't really calm myself. It's when I was up on stage at Lancaster, my legs were shaking really badly. But what really made me have still good shots was making sure that my dot was in the middle before I punched it. Was like just being like same routine, just make sure it's in the middle. As long as you're in the middle, fucking you can punch it as hard as you can. Just make sure it's in the middle. It was awful. That might have been that was the hardest part about it, was while my entire body was shaking, to make sure it was still in the middle.
Wow.
But
And that's a great point for anyone that does command shoot that is listening to this. The number one thing you need to do is to make sure the pin is in the middle before you punch it. Don't punch it and put the pin in the middle. Like if you could just
yeah,
flip those, you'll be good. So
yeah,
yeah, it's really simple. Like command shooting is actually very simple. You just put the pin in the middle and make sure it's in the middle, and then you punch it. So,
yep,
but yeah, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter how hard you punch it as long as the pin's in the middle and your form is good, your setup's good, and you've shot it and know that hey, it's probably going to hit behind the pin, and it's comfortable,
yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, as far as Lancaster, so to qualify for Lancaster, what did you shoot?
653, I think.
Okay. Now, how did that
Yeah.
qualification go?
Um, Qualification itself was iffy, I'd say. I every Okay, there was the two halves, the two 300 rounds. Every time I missed any, it was in the first half of each half. Right, I'd go five ends. I like the first 10 rounds, the 10 ends. I missed all four in the first five ends, and then I cleaned the second half. Same with the second, the second set, 10 out ends is I missed three X's and then cleaned the second half. And I don't know. I feel like that's something to do with like uh having nerves, keeping pressure on myself to make sure I do shoot good. I think that's where I fault most is qualifications at tournaments. I think I perform way better in like elimination matches or shoot downs is when I perform the best because I keep on myself that whole time. During qualifications, I anytime I know I'm getting slack in my shot, that's when it goes downhill. But that's my qualification. I'd say there went a little bit poorly than I wanted it to. Like, I don't think qualification at Lancaster, since I wasn't shooting for, I had to hit all the tens, right, to shoot a 900 at Vegas. I didn't have to hit all the tens. I didn't have that much pressure on me. So I think personally, I did a little bit worse than what I wanted to do during qualifications at Lancaster, just because I know I didn't have the kind of pressure on me that I usually have. And so I didn't really have a reason to shoot worse, but I did. So that really took it out of me.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So some people are the opposite, and sometimes it just depends on the person or the bow setup or what you're doing. But yeah, it sounds like you were getting comfortable and you got, I guess, too comfortable and fired some shots where they just weren't quite right, and they just get kind of close but not quite where it needed to be. So
yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it went.
As far as eliminations, if you remember, I'm sure you do, how did your eliminations go?
Really, really well. Right before eliminations, I was in the practice range, and I think going in there, the first arrow I shot was a 10, and I cleaned the red. Like every end, I would shoot XX12 every time. I don't think I missed a single 12 in the practice range going into it, I was expecting, man, I think I'm gonna have to shoot at these 12s. I'm gonna have to. I know the guys I'm going against. I know they're good shooters. So I was like, I'm gonna have to hit a 12. And so I was practicing for them, and in that practice range, I hit everything I was aiming at. Just the very first arrow was the first one I missed. Everything else, I hit what I was aiming at. And going out there, it was, I think, I shot a 132 for my first match, and I didn't go for any 12s because I think he shot. I think he shot a couple of 10s in the first two ends, so he went for a 12, and then he missed it. But I cleaned the rest of the 11s, and that's all I needed to do. I didn't need to shoot for a 12. I wasn't going to even risk it at that point. And that went pretty well, honestly. That wasn't terrible at all. That's not where most of my nerves came from. Nerves came from going in the last match, that first place match against Drew Hortman. Is that his last name? I think so. Yeah. Yeah, that terrified me because I was shooting right next to him in practice. He didn't miss anything either.
Oh wow!
Me and him in practice just didn't miss anything. I was like, "Yep, this is gonna be the toughest match of my entire life right here." I know he's a good shooter, but right off the bat, he came out with a 9, and personally, I just thought to myself, I was like, yeah, I'm winning this. I'm not losing now. I'm not gonna miss one. I refuse to miss one. And
yeah, there's no choice. There's no hoping for it in the middle. It's like, I have to do this, and you just do what you have to do.
I think it was my second end. I shot 110. I shot a 10 in my second end, and then he went for a 12 twice, I think. I missed both of them. And I know going in that last arrow, I shot a 9, a big fat 9, only because I think it just had to be on target to even for the win. And that terrified me. That was awful. Holy crap. I couldn't hold in the middle for nothing there. I just had to make sure it wasn't. I was just thought to myself, just shoot in the yellow and you'll be fine. You'll be perfect. And you got it. And I just sent for it. All I had to do is hit anywhere in the yellow and I got it. And so that that was definitely probably the most nerve-wracking part of my archery career right there was that.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen, we've all seen Mikey, do that on purpose. But,
Yeah.
yeah, you did that, and you were super nervous, but that's fine. But dude, congrats again on that. That's incredible shooting. I feel like the only time you missed on stage was a 10 and that 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you hit every other 11. Did you have to go for any 12s?
I didn't.
Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
I practiced for them, and I was really hoping that I would have to. I kind of like I really wanted to because I still, first time being on stage, never got to touch the 12 button. I never even touched it. So it was like, okay, well, I was just hoping that I got to, but I'm thankful that I didn't have to, though, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So
12s you usually have to hit out of desperation, it seems. So,
yeah,
um,
uh, desperation or necessity. It seems like
yeah,
you get in that pro class. It seems nowadays it's necessity that you have to hit them all.
100%.
Yeah,
Insane, insane shoot off that happened in the pro class. So,
yeah.
as far as the jump between Lancaster and Vegas that week, what did that week look like preparing for Vegas?
Um, Not much. Still shooting. I don't know if it was my strings or something during the flight, but after I got to Vegas and started practicing, my draw length just felt a little long. I don't know if something happened to my strings or they stretched, but I just changed the mods and they're 1/8 inch increments, so I changed it an 1/8 inch and it made it perfect. Which is crazy because I don't think my strings would have stretched an 1/8 inch, but I did it, but it made it feel 10 times better. But that's about the only thing I really changed from going. But everything else, I just made sure I shot, just shoot my bow, shoot
Yeah,
more.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
So, about how many rounds did you shoot a day or so preparing for Vegas?
Uh, the couple days before Vegas started, or everything.
Yeah, a couple
Um,
days before.
it was more than three, probably, but I don't. Not as many as you, that's for sure.
Dude,
Yeah,
I that's a whole other topic, but
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
I
I
shot a
know
ton.
a couple of those days I might have shot one of the days I know I shot four or five, but I didn't try to overload myself. It seemed like I didn't want to, terrify myself, go and practice forever and scare myself. But I know for a
Wow.
fact, yeah, I do. I'm trying to find that balance. I don't want to shoot too much, but I don't want to shoot too little either. I,
Sure.
I but I definitely think that it's a good thing I did not shoot. If I didn't shoot at all, I don't think I would have like any of those days. I wouldn't have done as good as all as I did. But I think you definitely have to shoot, right? I think it's a known fact that you have to shoot some, but I just had to figure out, definitely the between scoring days, I went and shot maybe one or two games of
Right.
practice between the days because I feel like uh, I felt like if I shot too much, I would hinder my actual scoring days for some reason. I just had that in my mind that not to overdo it in the practice. So
Powerful. Yeah, especially with as heavy of a bow and the holding weight. And then as far as mental clarity, um, I find personally if you do shoot a ton, um, eventually you're going to get bored. And when you get bored, I guess that's when you're not going to be as focused and you're probably going to mess up. So um, yeah, I think finding that balance of, like one or two games is good, and just a few after. If you're not like actually trying to do anything, you're just trying to maintain just whatever's comfortable for you at that
Yeah,
moment. But excellent,
yeah, definitely.
super good. So, but as far as um, your rounds at Vegas, you shot in the compound flights, which is like an amateur class where they
Yeah.
you basically shoot and then you have your flight, and it's like is it like a shoot off essentially at that point?
Uh, to determine like first, second, and third, like the top. No, it's by X's
Oh,
for to rank everybody is by X's. Yeah, by purely. So there's no real shoot off at all.
okay.
That's only in the championship class. So
Dang. Anyway,
yeah,
so how did you shoot at Vegas?
uh, fairly well, I'd say. My first 2 days definitely were a little bit lackluster. You know, in practice, I'd say I'm like a 28x average in practice, 27, 28x. And first 2 days, I shot 26x's, a pair of 26x's the first 2 days. And I know for a fact I could have easily shot a 28x if I made some really dumb shots that I shouldn't have, right? They weren't in the middle and I punched it, right? There was no reason for me to, uh, it was idiotic of me not to hit the middle because I just wasn't aiming there. But then I ended up that last day, me and one other person were tied with 8x's down. Me and another guy were tied for first place, and we were shooting right next to each other because in flights they rank you like that. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna be able to miss very many. Well, going out there, uh, I was just pounding. I just I just knew mentally that I couldn't miss. I wasn't gonna be able to miss, so I didn't. So I ended up shooting a 30x that last day, absolute shooting out my butt, and it was, I'd say, purely the first half was purely thinking to myself, don't don't miss because you're gonna have to shoot it. You're still shooting against this guy, right? Even if he misses one, you still have five ends left. I think he missed. I think he was 2x's down the first half, and my mindset was still like, you still can't miss. Two is still in the realm of possibility of you could miss three in the second half and he could clean it. He's beating you. So
Wow.
I had to keep that mindset going in that second half. And I think at target change, he missed one. He shot a 9 out low. So that was huge weight off of my shoulders. But and I mentally I thought, well, now it's a 900 that you have to shoot. And I was like, well, now I'm just have to shoot against myself. And one big goal I wanted to really be was shoot a 30x at a tournament. That was my big thing was that right after, make sure you shoot perfect, right? Well, going against him, make sure you don't miss, shoot your possible best. Then after that, you know, after getting that out of my head about, oh, now you've beaten him, easy now, right? No, I had to find something to keep pressure, and it was, well, shoot a 30x. I that pressure. I think that pressure for me personally is what really makes me shoot better. I love when I don't have any pressure on me. It seems like I can still shoot good, but my performance doesn't seem like it does as well as when I'm under any if I'm not under any kind of pressure. If I'm under no pressure at all, it's just airplane mode kicks on. It's like why? Why am I? Yeah, but
Yeah,
this that
exactly.
was that strident for that 30x was definitely like that was my goal at the end of the day was that was it and absolutely just slammed her. That's for sure. Uh,
Awesome.
you know, really sucks I wasn't in the championship class, but we'll get her next year.
Yeah, 982 X's. That would have ranked really well. I believe Braden Gillingham shot the same score, so you'd be standing right there.
Yeah, that's yeah. I
Anyway,
I went and counted. It was I don't know how many were above that. It wasn't. There was more under that than above for the 900 in the 900s. So I would have been sitting really well, honestly,
yeah,
a lot better than I thought I would have going into it. This year's been uh, thinking, man, I'm an amateur, right? That's how I started off the year. I'm an amateur. I still have stuff to work on. Obviously, I still do, but I didn't think I was going to make the leaps and bounds that I already have. I didn't think I would grow this much in the time I did. And it's probably because I didn't do the things that I did before, right? I didn't change my holding weight and I didn't change my precise aiming. Like I never tested that stuff out until now. And it really that pushed me. It really did hard. It pushed me far too. So
wow. Yeah, I have a feeling that people listening to this podcast, they're going to want to try out holding weight changes. So
yeah,
if you do shoot a Matthews like a TRX, go to I think it's bedfordarchery.com, if I'm not mistaken.
I I think so. It's it's Bedford Archery on Instagram. I'm not. I'm fairly sure that's what the website is, but I don't know if that's exactly what it is. But it'll come
Yeah.
up on his Instagram.
Yeah. So Bedford Archery, and reach out if you want something custom, I guess. He could probably print it for you. But yeah, you can change your draw length in 1/8 inch increments, and you can also change your holding weight and achieve massive amounts of holding weight. And a general rule of thumb for people command shooting, this is very general, but Isaac recommends to do at least 21 pounds of holding weight if you're going to command shoot. So it just holds so much better. And then when you do command it, the lapse of time from the command to the arrow being released is faster since the valley is shorter. So that short valley is much more forgiving. So, but yeah, I hope people try out holding weight changes. Let's say if you're shooting like a PSE or a Hoyt, like for PSEs, you've got those stops. There's some, I think, Bomer stops out there. A
Yeah,
lot of new custom stops that have come out for those bows. And then as far as Hoyts, if you're shooting the SVX, there's some Bomer stops for that. And then you can just untwist your control cable like 2.5 twists for every 1/8 inch of change at the bottom, I think is right. And then just back out your limbs a little bit or whatever you have to do. HPT cam, 65%. You can just bump that sucker out. Other bow brands. Elite has the adjustable holding weight.
yeah,
Yeah, so definitely if you are command shooting, play with holding weight. If you're not, I would still recommend to try it out. See how much you can do. I remember a long time ago, like last year, which is a long time. I was
yeah,
at Iowa Pro Am and I asked Jesse Broadwater how much holding weight should a person run? And I quote perfectly, as much as you possibly can, is what he said. And it just helps with under pressure. A lot of guys have that up and down hold. You just hold really well. You can pile some weight on your bow. But
Yeah.
yeah, so holding weight, try it, guys. What else? Trying a higher lens power. I'd say for command shooting, definitely try a higher lens power. And then precision. If that's your
Yeah.
thing, try it. If you want to be a little bit less precise, that's fine, but definitely balance the two, see what you like best. But for a command shooter, I think precision is definitely a way to go. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah.
Uh,
Do you have any other things you'd like to add to the podcast?
um, I started working on that. I Bedford, right? Isaac Bedford. He's gonna be coming out with title mods, title thing for the title, not just for the TRXs. And I started messing with that bow because I got it in Vegas, and I started messing with it. It That's a good shooting bow, even though it's right now it's way too long for me. I still set it up. Uh, it still shoots super well, super well, even though it's like 3/4 of an inch too long for my draw length. It
Holy
it
cow.
it I have more movement, right? My pin moves still more than I want it to, but it it shoots like really well. Like I don't have the way I had my TRX set up. I'd have left and right miss. Well, left misses. I think, yeah, mainly left misses is where I'd miss, and that title, it just the like I don't know how to explain it. I know if I was gonna miss left with that TRX because I could feel it. I don't feel it with that title for some reason. Like the same, I don't know what it is with it, but that's a good shooting bow. But the problem, I think my main problem is it's not going to have enough holding weight that I want to. It's
Exactly.
yeah. So, but yeah, I don't have anything else to add to the podcast that's worth any value. I think.
Yeah. I'm sure we could get something figured out for that. Yeah. As far as
Yeah.
getting the holding weight, I'm sure Isaac can whip up something or um, Matthews. We're knocking at your door. Let's make a 65% let off mod. People would love it.
Yes.
They they had them on what, like the TRG like a long time ago.
Oh yeah. Before my time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's before my time too, actually. Like literally as soon as I started shooting TRG, um, I believe they had 65% mod. But anyway, where can people find you on social media?
Uh, on Instagram, Parker S. Baker. So just like Parker Baker, it'll just show up probably, hopefully. Um, yeah, that's mainly where all my social media happens. I have everything else, but I never use anything else. So it's mainly just Instagram. If anybody just needs anything or wants to ask some questions, that's where you can reach out to me.
Absolutely. So reach out to Parker on Instagram. And yeah, as far as this podcast, we're done. And if you want to meet Parker and I on a coaching call in Champion Archer Academy, just go to www.championarcheracademy.com. We have a weekly coaching call. It's like $249. You get that call as long as I will be doing them, and you get access to a 60 module online course that has pretty much everything: bow setup, mental game, form, shot technique. Would love to add some more command shooting stuff in there because it's like a totally different ballpark. But
Mhm.
I think we talk a lot about the command stuff on all of our podcasts. So you could probably get a pretty good idea. But feel free to reach out to Parker as well if you have any questions. But yeah, that's the end of this podcast. I hope the viewers have enjoyed this, and we will see you in the next one.